Hi, I'm Dr. Deb Butler, and you are listening to Thinner Peace and Menopause and Beyond. This is episode number 490. And today, just to give you a little glimpse into what I'm going to be talking about, I want to talk to you about the idea of temptation and why it's not what you're thinking it is. Stay tuned. Well, hello, all my dear friends all over the world. It's good to see you and it's good to be seen. And it's good if you're just listening. I hope you can hear me well. And today I want to talk about something so interesting. At least it's interesting to me because I just got through talking to a client. She gave me the best idea for what I want to talk to you about today. So she was telling me a story. I hadn't talked to her in about 2 months, and she had just come back from vacation. And vacation and celebrations are always good places to see what you think about yourself and around food when you're not in your normal situations. And for my client, it was just no different. And so what we were talking about is she was just talking to me about how easy she thought it was when she went on two different vacations. She said it was pretty easy for her to eat between the twos and be really mindful about her joy eats, which is everything that I teach. And if you're new to my podcast and you don't know any of the tools that I teach, let me just say that what I want you to learn more than anything is that if you can eat when you're hungry and stop when you're full, especially if you're in menopause, I also think you can believe and you can do and you can weigh what you want to weigh. And that being said, I also believe that you can eat whatever you want. It's just what do you want? And how do you want to feel when you do it? Which is really all about joy eating. And when I was talking to my client today and I was asking her about her vacation, and she was saying how easy it was for her to choose joy eats, eat them mindfully, bite by bite, and stop the minute she's through enjoying them. And that when she ate when she was hungry and she stopped when she was full. I call that eating between the twos, eating in a negative two and stopping in the plus two. And then she said to me, and this is what I want you to listen to because I bet this could be you too. She said, I really didn't have many temptations. Now, as a coach, this lit up my brain because I said to her, what do you mean by temptation? And she said, food that I wanted, but I shouldn't eat. And that just got my little brain going because then I knew that she had a belief system inside of her that was going to keep her stuck because she believed when you think about a temptation, and that's what I want to talk to you about, I want you to reflect. And what I told her is that when you think something is a temptation, it's just a thought anyway. It's just something that you're thinking. And it's also one that's keeping you stuck because what is a temptation? And a temptation is a belief in something outside of you that has power over you and that leads to consequences that you do not want. So when it comes to food, it's the idea that certain foods call to you and that you're under their mercy, that food controls you is really what it means when you say, I was tempted or I wasn't tempted. It was a temptation or it wasn't a temptation. All you're saying is that either it controls me or it doesn't. And in her case, she was believing that food still controlled her when she had those temptations. So it's kind of a belief that if you say you're tempted by food, you're saying that food has more control than you do. You're handing over your power to food, which is so many of my clients believe they can't control themselves around food. And if you're listening to this podcast, you might have that same belief, especially if you're in menopause and your emotions are heightened and your hormones are imbalanced. Food might have more of a conflict than ever. And if you've been struggling with weight your whole life, menopause is making it harder than ever because the things that you were struggling with before only get harder in menopause. So I think about this and I want to give you this metaphor that I gave to her for something for you to think about a temptation. Because here's what I asked her. I mean, I knew she was married, and I know she's been married to a man for a long time. So I said to her, can you go to social engagements? Can you go on vacations? Or are you afraid to go because you're going to be tempted by other men who are handsome or who are cute or who say nice things to you? Do you get tempted? And she looked at me and she said, well, of course not. And I said, well, that's interesting. Why not? And she said, I would never do that. Never do that. I would never do that to myself, and I would never do that to my husband. It was absolutely a sure thing. That's something that she would never do. And I said, what if you were that committed to yourself, to how you want to feel around food, that you would never do that to yourself either? So that any more than a man would be a temptation to you, neither would food. It's really something to think about. And when you're rooted in love and commitment, temptation isn't even on the radar, be it with her husband or even be it with herself. That food, it's like a way of taking the food and the power of the food away. So here's some ideas for changing these thought patterns. Instead of I'm tempted, try, I notice I have a thought about food. I notice that I have a thought that I can't control myself around food. When you have that thought pop up about something being a temptation when it comes to food, know that you're the one that decides if it is or if it isn't, any more than if it's a man out there. Are you or aren't you? I think you decide ahead of time that that's just not a problem for you. What if you could do the same thing with food? So it's like you reaffirm that you're not resisting food. You're honoring yourself any more than you're resisting men. For her, it's a man, whoever it is for you. But for her, it's a man, and she's in love with her husband, and it's been that way for a long time. And there is no problem. She can go anywhere. She can go in any social engagement. She can go on vacations. She can do celebrations. And it doesn't matter who else is there. She's committed to her marriage. And I'm thinking, wow, what if you could be committed to yourself and your relationship with food, even if it's never been that way up until now? As long as you have a thought that I don't want to be tempted, or that I am tempted, or oh my gosh, I'm going someplace where there are a lot of temptations, those are the thoughts that you want to reevaluate and not think them anymore. It really opened up my client's mind, and I really hope it opens up your mind too. So if you still believe food has power over you, ask yourself, do I really want to keep believing that? It's really a good question, because a belief is just a thought that you think over and over and over again. And you think it for so long that it becomes reality to you. But it's just a sentence in your head that you've been repeating to yourself for too long. You don't need more willpower. You need more trust in you and your ability to choose what you want for yourself. You can build a relationship with food that's just as strong and loving as the one you have with your partner, one that doesn't waver with every craving or cookie. That's what I help women do every day. And that's what I'm hoping I'm going to help you do today. So listen, if you're going on vacation or you're having a celebration, for her, she says that when she's on vacation or socializing, that's when she's most tempted. Not by other men, but by food. But what if it was not food or other men? She was committed to both. How different it would be. And really, all it is just a tweak in what you believe. So, she had a coach. She had me listening to that word. As soon as she said temptation, I knew she thought that it was just a fact about her and her traveling, that certain things are just tempting. And really, all it is just a thought in her head that makes her feel powerless when she says it, and powerful when she thinks there aren't any. But what if it didn't even exist anymore. I really want you to think about that this week. And if you're traveling still or celebrating something and you think that there's a temptation, maybe you can reframe it too and know that there's no food that has more control over you than what your mind and your belief and your love in yourself can do. Love yourself as much as you love your partner, if that helps you. It helped her because there's no way she was going that way. No way. And what if there was no way she was going that way with food either? It's firm. It's a belief. If this helps you, try it, especially if you're traveling, socializing, or doing something out of the ordinary where that thought might pop up. And as always, I would never end this podcast with two things. Number one, I do want to remind you that if you're loving this podcast, please, please, please review it. Give it 5 stars if you love it, and subscribe. All you have to do is hit the check button at the top of the podcast and you're in, and you'll get all of my podcasts as they come in. And listen, this is 490. So there are a lot of them that you can listen to, but you'll always get ready to hear the next one. And of course, the other thing that I want to say is no matter where you go or what you do, please, please, please be very, very kind to yourself. And I'll see you next week. Bye bye.